Hi, this is Ken Anthony from KJA Posters and Prints, and a lot of people have asked me how to dry mount a print using a t-shirt press. So today I'm working with a piece of art from a local artist, Panther Bernardi, King of the Jungle, and I'm going to show you that process. I'm not going to do a lot of editing, so this video is going to be about 15 minutes long. I'll explain the process as I'm going along. 1 second. Okay, this is a piece of Elmer's white foam core. I've already rough cut it down to the size of the print. This is my dry mount paper. Which, if you'll give me a second, well, I'll post the part numbers in the text associated with the video. Okay, you basically outline the dry mount beneath the print so that you have an edge on each border. It helps if you kind of trim everything so it's reasonably close. Certainly don't need to be exact at this point of the process. Okay, so you're kind of making a sandwich here. You got the foam core, dry mount film, the print, and on top of that I'll lay a sheet of thin paper called translucent bond, which is available for Hewlett-Packard wide format printers. And what you use this for is to put a layer between the heat plate on the press and the print stack itself. And you want to make sure that this sheet is larger than the dry mount film, so that the dry mount film doesn't stick to your press. Now, obviously, this print is bigger than the press, so I'm going to dry mount this in 4 steps. My dry mount press, I have it set on a setting of 250. After the heat transfers through the paper, the effective heat is somewhere around 170, 180. I arrived at this number through a lot of trial and error. This is my Android phone, which has a timer app, and I found that leaving it in the press for 2 minutes seems to work for me. You're going to have to experiment with numbers that work for you. Okay, so once you have the stack all together, place it in the press. Again, check that your dry mount film extends beyond the edge of the print and that the paper extends beyond the edge of the film. And then clamp your press and start the timer. And certainly if you want to skip through this waiting process, you can. I'm only filming this in its entirety so that in case you miss something, I'd whistle or talk or do something. So feel free to skip ahead until this goes down to 0. And we're going to do this 3 more times for the other sections of the print. There, that works. reason I don't have a dry mount press of my own is I don't do a lot of dry mount work. This was a special project for a local artist that I work with. Okay, so we already have a nice set there. Move the print over to the next quadrant. Now, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the way it wound up, there's a little bit of the dry mount film overhanging. You really don't want that to happen because that can stick to your t-shirt press. So I want to trim a little bit of that away underneath. You really only want the heat coming into contact with this translucent bond film. And once you're set, come down on that again. You want to make sure that the press slightly overlaps the previous section. Obviously, if you have a bigger print, you're going to wind up doing multiple sections. Okay, just rotating around to the third section. Making sure that I'm covering the full edge of the print with the heat. One of the reasons I don't have any music going on right now is YouTube and the internet as a whole have been cracking down on intellectual property. Normally I might have a radio on or something in the back, and I don't feel like dealing with any of that. get a sneak peek of what this is going to look like when it's all done. I just got done doing one about a half an hour ago. She likes the borders left on these, so I leave the white edge of the print on for her. It's extremely smooth. And one thing I do know that the timing isn't critical. I've let some of these sit in here for 3 minutes or a minute and a half. Again, you really got to experiment on your own to see what works with your machine. Okay, we've got one more quarter to do. Interesting story about these phones. I wanted something to play music around the shop, and I just wanted a cheap Android phone so I could, carry them anywhere and not worry about them. And I found some of these things sold online. Apparently, they're reconditioned phones that are only valid in Mexico or something like that, but they work perfectly well on Wi-Fi. So I've kind of been using them as everything but a telephone here in the studio. And they make great stopwatches. Only $10 with free shipping for that phone. And this is August 2014. Right, as soon as this one's done, we should be able to check it and everything should be complete. And all that's left to do at that point is trim it. Okay, now I like the feel because on occasion I might miss the seam and you'll feel a little bubble. If that does happen, you can just shift it over, bring the press down for another 30-40 seconds, and that would smooth out any defect that you might have. And it's still a little warm. I do like to let it cool down before I cut it, so I'm going to let this sit for another 2 minutes. Just wondering what, I don't even know what brand this t-shirt press is. Sorry. Okay, what you're going to see is, because the dry mount film overlapped underneath the paper, it's almost as if you had encapsulated the print. That's going to release as soon as you crop. When I crop this, I don't know how closely you can see, I'm going to cut just a little bit into the edge of the print, And at that point, this paper isn't sticking to anything, and it'll just peel off. I'm here. I need to rearrange the camera. So maybe I don't know if this is important or not. Okay, that looks better. Cutting the foam core this way without a trimmer, always use a new blade. That's one thing I did find out the first time I ever attempted this. If your blade is dull at all, it's gonna screw up the edge of the foam core. Occasionally I get a bad cut like that. Careful. Retrim. Nice. Now you can see this paper basically released at that point because it's got no more film to adhere to. Now, is this the only way to do this? No. There's definitely a large number of professional tools out there for industry professionals, but if you're only doing this every once in a while, I'm sure you got a friend who has a t-shirt press that you can borrow, and voila. Pulls off. And you've got yourself a very nice dry mounted press print. The whole reason we do dry mount as opposed to spraying the glue on is the glue always creates bumps and inconsistency. It gets all over everything, and it's just a monumental mess using it. This technique lasts forever as far as I'm concerned. There you have it. Foam core dry mounting in a t-shirt press.